Shakespeare emphasizes in King Lear, more than in any other play, the eclipse as a symbol of potential and actual disorder. An eclipse is a significant astrological factor with a long history of being associated with disruptive events. Shakespeare has the character Gloucester voice the specifics of this tradition. According to him, the heavens have recently foretold disruption on all levels. He says in Act 1, "These late eclipses in the sun and moon portend no good to us. Though the wisdom of nature can reason it thus and thus, yet nature finds itself scourged by the sequent effects. Love cools, friendship falls off, brothers divide. In cities, mutinies. In countries, discord. In palaces, treason. And the bond is cracked twixt son and father. This villain of mine comes under the prediction. There's son against father. The king falls from bias of nature. There's father against child. We have seen the best of our times. Machinations, hollowness, treachery, and all ruinous disorders follow us disquietly to our graves." A solar eclipse is a major astronomical and astrological event that typically occurs only twice a year and rarely over a particular geographical location. It was a terrifying and disturbing event to the Elizabethans, just as it was to many other cultures. The disappearance of the sun, as the primary symbol of royalty, was thought to threaten the life of the leader or the ruler. The obscuring of the sun, on which so much of human life depends, disturbs the order of the universe by changing light to dark, with the likelihood of releasing everything associated with the dark side. Corruption and death are a frequent theme of eclipse myth. Evil spirits descend to earth or emerge from underground during eclipses. What is unusual in King Lear is that in voluntarily renouncing the throne, the king is eclipsing himself. Shakespeare really wants us to get the connection between these eclipses and the tragic events that unfold in the play, so much so that he has the character Edmund repeat these melancholic observations. He says, "I read the other day what should follow these eclipses, as of unnaturalness between the child and the parent, death, dearth, dissolutions of ancient amities, divisions in state, menaces and maledictions against king and nobles, needless diffidences, banishment of friends, dissipation of cohorts, nuptial breaches, and I know not what." Then his brother asks him, "How long have you been a sectary astronomical?" For dramatic purposes, Shakespeare emphasizes the worst possible association with these celestial events. Negative interpretations of eclipses go back many centuries and appear in many civilizations. For instance, in accordance with the Saturn theme of parents symbolically eating their children, which is found in King Lear, the earliest Chinese word for eclipse means to eat, and it referred to the gradual disappearance of the sun or the moon, as if it were eaten by a celestial dragon. The dragon is relevant to eclipse terminology in the West, too, since eclipses happen when the sun and the moon are close to the points called the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. Shakespeare's audiences would have certainly been aware of these associations. Lear makes the comparison of himself to a dragon when, in Act 1, he says, "Come not between a dragon and his wrath." Dragons were sometimes positively associated with the ruler of a kingdom, as in Chinese culture, where a 5-clawed dragon was the emblem of the emperor. But dragons in Western myth are almost always frightening and destructive creatures, depicted with the characteristics of many threatening animals combined into one: serpentine tails, armoring scales, sharp talons, and great wings. They are commonly devourers, reminding us of King Lear as the devouring parent. The scene in which Lear makes this telling comparison of himself to the dragon is precisely the one in which he symbolically devours Cordelia by reducing her inheritance and her dowry to nothing. Lear is not the only character in the play who associates himself with a dragon. The bastard son Edmund plots evil against the king, and he reveals that he was born under inauspicious stars. He says, "My father compounded with my mother under the dragon's tail, and my nativity was under Ursa Major, so that it follows, I am rough and lecherous." In myth, dragons deliberately ate poisonous herbs to make their bites more venomous. King Lear seems to feed on poisonous thoughts of hatred and revenge, which empower his curses and his rages. But the one who repeatedly tells Lear who he is the fool, the wisest character in the play. Without wisdom, Lear was more foolish than the professional fool. The fool's disappearance after Act 3 reinforces the idea that Lear finally gains the Saturnian gift of wisdom. It is as if Lear has integrated the fool into himself now that he has become wise. Determining the astrological signature of the play is not difficult, since it is the only play in which Shakespeare stresses the age of the title character. Lear is an old man, and the reason he plans to divide the kingdom among his daughters and retire from ruling is that he thinks he cannot do the job anymore. The zodiacal planet and sign correlated with the last phase of life, old age, debility, and ultimately death. That planet would be Saturn, and the sign Capricorn. As Shakespeare alludes to astrology so frequently in his plays, we can only speculate about his personal beliefs on the subject. It is impossible to say what Shakespeare believed about this or any other subject, because he puts into the mouths of his characters statements that suit their own attitudes and personalities. like Prospero or Edmund or Romeo. But it is clear that whatever Shakespeare's personal beliefs, the vast majority of his characters' statements are overwhelmingly in line with a Renaissance astrological worldview. The perspective was so accepted in his age that astrological symbols were used as a kind of shorthand in both philosophical and literary works. Shakespeare obviously draws on this common symbolism as creative inspiration for his art. We should not be surprised at its prominence in his plays, since astrology has been an integral part of every major civilization on our planet, both Eastern and Western. From the Sumerian and Babylonian cultures to the Persian Empire and dynastic Egypt, into Greek and Roman times, as well as Chinese, Indian, and Mesoamerican civilizations. It is a nearly universal language describing the interaction between humanity and the cosmos, its language crossing cultures and enduring over time. Put concisely, astrology is the language that connects humanity with both nature and the cosmos.